Welcome back to the channel, guys. Donnie D here. So this is going to be part 2 of this curbless shower build, and as you can see, it's on a concrete slab. So this video is really going to consist of the process of how I'm going about cutting out this slab and make sure everything is done and rock solid, strong, so you don't have a problem in the future. So, a few things to mention here while I'm doing this voiceover is that I'm actually using a circular saw with a diamond edge, or basically it's a masonry blade on there meant for cutting concrete. Now when you do this, they have kind of continuous ring ones, and okay, as I was saying, a little hard with the munchkins running around the house, but anyway, masonry blade, they got a continuous rim and then kind of a turbo blade. Try out which one what's going to work better for you. Obviously one cut faster than the other, but not as clean of a cut. So what I'm using is the continuous rim, I believe, on the edge here where it's going to end. Well, you have a nice clean cut for everyone else. For everywhere else, I want a fast cut, doesn't got to be clean. Okay, back again, as I was saying, grandma's on top of me over here. But anyway, yeah, so get those kind of blades. Make sure you get a bunch of them. I think I got 3 of each for this project because you're going to burn through them. I'm actually dry cutting here. I'm using a vacuum to try to reduce the dust. Now, if you can and you're doing like a lot bigger area than this, then honestly, I would just go and rent at your local hardware place a nice road saw. And that's just kind of like a slang term for a concrete saw. It has a water attachment to it. That way there's very minimal dust, and it's really going to blow through this a lot quicker than what I'm using here. But this will get the job done every time. It's just going to take a little bit longer. Go from there. As you use your circular saw, it's going to get real hot, so you want to make sure you let it cool down every 10-15 minutes. Don't overheat it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out the slab here. And I'm going to go down. I'm explaining to you towards the end of the video how to go and whatnot, but basically I'm going to cut out a long line here along where I want the shower to end, and then I'm going to cut slits in it, so that way when I come in with my little jackhammer, I can just knock them out, and little sections there just goes a lot more efficiently. And as I'm cutting, I'm using a wet sponge to wet the area. Now, as far as worried about getting electrocuted, I have everything hooked up to a ground fault circuit there. That way if anything does get wet, I'll trip it. No one will get hurt, no electrical damage here. So make sure that you don't just plug straight into the wall. Make sure you're on a GFCI circuit. That way if something does get wet, no one's going to get hurt. And that's about it. I'm going to explain how I go through this process. I'm going to do a couple time lapse of the process. Here is a real dusty, dirty situation, so I had to use some zip wall, some plastic, make sure that the dust is not going nuts here. That's about it. Stay tuned for the video. I'll give you some detailed what I'm doing here towards later on in the video, and go from there. Once again, Donnie from Donnie D's Tile. Thanks for tuning into the video, guys. Alright guys, so I got this whole thing dug up here. I am prepping this whole slab here. Got my piece cut down. I'm going to be putting 2-inch coupling here. I'm going to put my drain here, make sure that the height's right. So last thing you want to do is pour all this concrete and then you can't get at the drain because it's too far down. So I'm prepping that now. Glue this in, put this 4-inch pipe right here, so that gives me about 4.5 outside diameter. That way I can get my coupling in, all that stuff, there's enough room in there. Put that in, backfill the dirt, make sure it's flat, tamp it down, and then I'm going to fill in all this with concrete. Roughly about the height of this side and that side. That's it. Then we'll be ready to go. Okay, one thing that's critical here is that once I fill this concrete in here and all that, this is done. So I don't really want to have to chip out more concrete after the fact. So what I'm doing is I got the drain in. I got one of these 1/8-inch spacers on that side and that side, because figure that's going to be about my mud there. I'm going to probably wet set this with the mortar mix and thin set the back of it. So roughly that amount of mud. And you can see my level here from this point here to that point I'm pitched. Now I will be pouring a soft level on this side, so I'm going to figure the minimum. Well, the minimum I'm going to do is 1/8 inch minimum, right? So probably be more like a quarter, but let's just say we do an 1/8 inch. If I take my spacers here, I stack them up. Every 2 is a 1/4 inch, right? So that's a 1/2 inch here. Get another. So that's 3/4 right there. 1/4, 1/2, 3/4. Now how do I check that? Put that on the edge of the drain, and I put my straight edge with my level right on it. So you can see I even got more than that of a pitch. I probably got about 7/8 right there, so we're more than good here. Let's say I even pull out this space. Let's say I even do a level over here. See, I still got slightly more than 3/4, and this is actually less than 3 feet. So we got more than enough pitch here. So make sure you want to check that. Schluter comes with these foam tray pieces here. If I use that, it might be a little bit too high depending on how much level I have to put here. I might not have to use it, but if I don't have to use it, this is where I'm going to be at. Got my drain coupling put in. Enough to have a nice piece here to put in. And that's about it. We are good to go here. So you always want to make sure you do that stuff, especially when you have a curbless shower, and especially when you're on a slab here. So everything looks good. So I'm also going to do, so I'm going to take my straight edge and just make sure that we have no high points in the concrete, which would also look like it. We're good here. Check the other side. Just going to have this small section here, but yeah, we're more than good there. More than good. All right. So this shower is ready to get concrete in. Go from there. Okay, so I got my 4-inch pipe there. Put tape around it so the concrete won't bond to it. Got it as plumb as I could possibly get it. This pipe was a little bit too close to the bottom plate. I was able to make it work. Usually for your line drains and your Schluter line drains, you got exactly 2.5 inches off that bottom plate. And that's what I, of course, told the plumber, but of course his was about 2 1/4, 2 3/8, so it was a little bit tight. I was able to make it work, but you know, if I had this scenario again, I just told the plumber to do it. I'll just tell him to make it 3 inches off the plate, because you know, plumbers don't know how to read a tape measure and a level for the most part. No offense, but that's what I've come to find out. So if I would do this again, I would tell him 3 inches. 2.5. If you're on plywood, you can always make adjustments from below, but this is on concrete. Once this drain is in, there's no way at all to get at it. So what I'm doing now is I'm backfilling some of my dirt, moving around with kind of like a rake there, getting it flat. And then what I don't have on video as well is I actually have a tamper that you can get at your local hardware place that's made for landscaping. So when you have dirt that goes down, it's about, I don't know, 30-40 pounds or so. And well, maybe less, maybe it's about 20 pounds, but it's a flat piece of metal on a long stick, and you pound this dirt down and make sure that it's packed down well, because if this dirt is moving, and you pour concrete on it, well then the concrete's going to move too. So you want to make sure that the dirt is filled in around this whole thing, supporting all the old concrete that's staying there, tamped down really well. And then in this situation, they didn't really have any rebar on this slab, so they just had a vapor barrier, so there's a plastic. So what I just used is a regular construction grade construction bed. What I used here is just a garbage bag. It's about 4 to 6 mils thick, and that just allows the concrete to cure properly, so it's not sitting right on the dirt. So I'm gonna move this all around, get it as flat as possible, tamp it down, and then pour my concrete. Okay guys, so I apologize, but I didn't start filming until I started pouring some in here, but you got the idea. What I'm using here is concrete, and I'm using a really high strength concrete. I believe this one went up to 5,000 or 6,000 psi. I mean, it's what you want. I mean, I'm patching a slab here, so you really want to get the strongest concrete you can. But what I'm doing is I'm packing under that front part of that slab there, to make sure that anywhere where it meets the old slab, that there's no voids under, everything is completely supported. So that way we have a lifetime installation here. So that's about it for this video. This is part 2. I'm gonna just time lapse to the rest of this. I just pour the concrete in. I use a mag float to make sure it's nice and smooth. And when I did pour it, I made sure I was no higher than those areas that I patched on the sides, the areas that I chopped down. I don't want to be any higher than that, because you can always fill it in with mud, as long as it's less than about 3 inches what I need for mud. You don't want to go really thicker than 3 inches with most mud. So I hope this video helped for you guys. Stay tuned for part 3.